Well, as Vin Scully said shortly after the Kirk Gibson home run, not a bad opening act.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans, and welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball all year long. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. And you can follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever it's called now and on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. It's Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. And this episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB to win $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Yeah, I am. This is something. And as Jeff Cohen, who's an everyday Sully listener, says, what a classic World Series game. That's true, Jeff. You can't ask for more than this. You can't ask for more than stars. You can't ask for more than drama. And you can't ask for more than, quite frankly, a wild, bananas, fun, exciting. And if you're a Dodger fan or a Yankee fan, and I live here in LA, I know plenty of Dodger fans. And of course, I lived in New York forever, so I know plenty of Yankee fans. Holy cow, what an opening. And by the way, lest we forget, last year we had quite an opening too. We had a game-tying home run in the ninth and a game-winning home run in extra innings. And that was a pretty good way to start a series too, lest we forget. But this one, the first World Series ever to have 5 former MVPs playing at the same time. This was just dynamite. Absolute dynamite. And there's a lot to break down in this game. Now, and I use the word breakdown in that has multiple meanings. But let's just talk. Obviously, the big hero of the game is Freddie Freeman. It was quite a game for someone who at one point looked like he may not even be on the playoff roster. Hey, let's give a shout out to someone I follow on Twitter or whatever it's called now, and that is Roto Pat. And Roto Pat said on Twitter, never pitch to a Dodger who could barely walk in a World Series walk-off situation. I had to retweet that. I thought that was pretty funny. Yeah, remember going into this game, and I remember going to school where I teach during the day. I spoke to my teacher today, Chris, who's a huge Dodger fan, and I said, they're not going to even put Freddie Freeman on the roster. You know, he's going to be too hurt. And that's going to be a blow. Well, as it turns out, they did put him on the roster. And he legged out the first hit against Gerrit Cole, which was a triple in the first inning, partly because of a misplay by Verdugo. But he wound up getting a triple and the first walk-off grand slam in World Series here in history. Only the second walk-off grand slam in postseason history. The first one was hit by Nelson Cruz against the Detroit Tigers in 2011. All due respect to Robin Ventura, who did hit a grand slam as a walk-off hit, but because he was mobbed at second base, it was ruled as a single. I know, and you know that was a grand slam. This was the first walk-off come from behind grand slam, where the team was losing, and then the home run was hit, and the team won. This is only the third walk-off come from behind home run in World Series history. The first one was Kirk Gibson. Second one was Joe Carter. And then you got Freddie Freeman. There's so much to go over right now. And just that last inning, just that 10th inning was a Dostoevsky novel, basically. You had the top, in the bottom of the first, I'm sorry, the top of the 10th inning with Trinan pitching his in the second inning. You had Jazz Chisholm Jr. Stealing third. He was he stole third base in the key situation. Lest we forget, Jazz wound up stealing 3 bases, 2 of them in that 9th inning, setting up the go-ahead, basically the go-ahead infield play where I don't know what the heck was going on with Anthony Rizzo kind of almost stopping in his tracks. Maybe he thought the ball was caught or something. I don't know, but the Jazz just got on base, stole second, stole third, and scored on a dribbler in the infield. I love baseball like that. I grew up in the 80s where a lot of teams had artificial turf and a lot of the National League teams were built on speed. Speed is fun. Speed causes anarchy. Speed causes a little bit of craziness. And having Jazz Chisholm stealing second and stealing third added to the excitement of that 10th inning. Now, the Yankees couldn't score more than that, but they wound up having the lead and handing the ball to, say it with me, Jake Cousins. Now, I will go over in a little bit why we lived in a world where Jake Cousins was handed the ball to get the save in Game 1 of the World Series. I think some of you may already understand where I'm going to go with this, but Cousins came up, immediately got Will Smith to fly out, then walked Lux, then walked Edman, and now they had the tying and winning runs up with a fellow named Shohei Ohtani coming up to the plate, who narrowly missed a game-tying home run in the 8th inning, only to turn into a double and stretch it to third when the ball was misplayed at second base by Gleyber Torres, and then came home on the fly ball by Betts. So Ohtani is up, and Nestor Cortes came in to pitch. Nestor Cortes hasn't pitched in a month. I know Hill was available. It's weird that we live in a world where Game 1 of the World Series was put in the hands, the debate was Cousins, Hill, or Cortes to close out Game 1 of the World Series. But here we are. Who would have had money? Who would have gone to FanDuel and bet there would have been Yankee fans going, I wanted Hill to pitch in a key situation? But in came Cortes to face Shohei Ohtani, and he got Ohtani to pop up. And Verdugo made a fantastic catch falling into the stands. Now, the rule that says that if you fall in out of play, everyone advances a base, it's a strange rule, especially on a foul pop. It's the rule. I don't know if I necessarily agree with the rule. I don't think those two would have advanced, and I think Verdugo bounced back pretty quickly. But that's the rule, and it put the runners at second and third. Now a base hit would have won the game. And we live in a world where people Mookie Betts was intentionally walked to face Freddie Freeman, but that's because you would have had the left-on-left matchup. I have no problem with walking Betts in that situation. If Nestor Cortes had pitched against Betts and he got the game-winning hit, Yankee fans probably would have beheaded Aaron Boone. And instead, he faced Freddie Freeman. But Cortes was rusty. He hadn't pitched in a long time. And he threw, the last time I saw someone throw a pumpkin like that, it was Green Goblin, right down the heart of the plate. And Freddie just massacred it. You know, I'm reminded of Bob Uecker in Major League when Wild Thing Vaughn let up a home run, and Bob Uecker says he swings and hits this one to South America. Now I have to tell you something. This was yet another night where I was walking the dog and listening to the radio during the game. I like listening to games on the radio, and I was walking the dog, and I was listening to the game on ESPN radio, Boog Giambi announcing, and I didn't. It was a little bit till I actually saw it, but you could just hear, like, through the radio, what a massive shot it was. And with that, Freddie Freeman, was it as dramatic as Kirk Gibson? No, but what home run ever has been. But this was a mammoth home run. And this should put a absolute shudder down the hearts of Yankee fans for this reason. As I said to Stacey Gotsoulias of Locked On Yankees on yesterday's show, the slight edge that the Yankees had was Gerrit Cole. They had a legit ace. The Dodgers don't. And I said if the Dodgers could win a Gerrit Cole start, they'll be in good shape. If not, the Yankees have the edge. Well, the Yankees lost a Gerrit Cole start. It wasn't Gerrit Cole who got the loss. It was Cousins who got the loss and the hold, by the way. He threw 1/3 of an inning, was charged with 2 runs. He got the hold. Please, let's eliminate the hold stat immediately. But here we go. The Dodgers won game 1. A spectacular game. And one of which, quite frankly, I need to bring up some of the Yankees who had terrific game 1s and whose, well, quite frankly, their wonderful efforts were spoiled. And I have a huge problem with how a certain element of the game was handled. Hey, let's hear from our friends over at PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks have made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. Just make your more than or less than pick on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your money in cash. Run your game all season long. PrizePicks is the best way to get on the action in over 30 states, including Florida, Georgia, Texas, and right here in California. And PrizePicks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You could double your money even if one of your picks doesn't do that. And PrizePicks puts its members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I get my money in as little as 15 minutes. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONMLB and get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Now, let me say that again. Download the app, use the code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. This is all part of PrizePicks. PrizePicks! Run your game. Now, some Yankees really stepped up in this game. Obviously, first and foremost, Gerrit Cole. Gerrit Cole has had some good games, certainly the elimination game of Kansas City, and he's had some not so great games. Well, today he was fantastic. He allowed 4 hits and, more importantly, no walks and no hit batsmen. And he pitched 6 strong innings, pitching into the 7th inning. I'll get into a little bit more later. Giancarlo Stanton had yet another Stantonian game where he only had 1 hit. He went 1 for 5. He's only batting .200. The 1 hit was a go-ahead 2-run home run with the Dodgers up 1-0. 1 swing of the bat, crushed it. Absolutely crushed it to Pasadena. And with that, Stanton, who I think his last 5 hits has been in the postseason have all been homers, gave the Yankees the lead which they held on to the 8th inning. I mentioned him before. It's worth mentioning again. Jazz Chisholm Jr., who got 2 hits, stole 3 bases, and made a fantastic play at third base, keeping the Dodgers from scoring and tying the game. Absolutely phenomenal play he made in the 7th. I believe it was in the 6th or the 7th, where he was dynamite and gave the team that spark. He created that run in the 10th with his intelligence and his speed. Chisholm stole 3 bases. Volpe stole a base as well. And Torres wound up getting a pair of hits. Now, he was lifted for Cabrera, and Jason Dominguez came in as a pinch runner. Is Dominguez really that much faster than Torres? I don't know. Neither do you. I felt strange removing Torres's bat, although Torres made one boneheaded play, which was allowed Ohtani to go from second to third. Still, it's a lot to lift him there. And Juan Soto reached base 3 times. He singled and walked twice, scoring a run on the Stanton homer. Now, Judge went 1 for 5, got 3 big strikeouts, and popped up in a key moment. Not a great day for Judge. Verdugo got a hit and made some very good defensive plays, and also one bad play, which allowed Freeman to get to third, but that didn't wind up. That was neither here nor there. Yeah. Oh, by the way, another thing raised its ugly head in the game today, and Jeff Cohen brings up Jeffrey Mayer made an appearance. That's right, the line drive double off the bat of Torres, where it looked like it was going to be a home run at one point, and it was actually a fan leaning over to catch it, a la Jeffrey Mayer. Yeah, folks, don't lean over. Don't lean over. And and other players on the Dodgers who came up big. Obviously, Freeman had the biggest day. Tommy Edman got a pair of hits, including a double. Did make an error, but helped turn a double play as well. Smith drove in a run, and Betts drove in a run with a sac fly. And Flaherty pitched well. He wasn't great. He pitched 5 1/3 innings. They lifted him right after the home run to Stanton. And part of me is like, well, he let up the home run to Stanton. All right, well, have him face Chisholm and Rizzo to get out of the inning and have someone start the 7th inning fresh. But I guess we're not allowed to do that. Once you let up the home run, you have to leave, and I assume hold your head in shame. But a couple of decisions were made. And Johnny T16 has posted a few things here. Wrote, Gerrit Cole pitched absolutely brilliantly in some pretty precarious situations. How do you follow that up with a decision to pitch Cortez? I'll tell you how, Johnny T. It is a philosophy of handling pitchers that bit the Yankees in the butt. Hey, let's hear from our friends over at FanDuel. NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats and view live play-by-play and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. All right, folks. I'm going to be a broken record about this. And whether this was Brian Cashman's decision or Aaron Boone's decision, the wrong decision was made. Listen to me and listen to me carefully. I've said this before. I'm going to say it again because I'm right. By the way, Christopher Nessie, big time, everyday Sully listener. Hey, thanks for listening. You were a fan back in the old Sully baseball days. Listen to me, okay? Get the pitcher relief when they need relief. When a pitcher is throwing, if not a masterpiece, then at least a dominant game, don't relieve the pitcher if they do not need relief, especially in a situation where if the game goes to extra innings, you don't want to burn through all your pitchers early. For the first 6 innings of the game, save for the 1 run that Los Angeles scored in the 5th inning, they could not get anything going. In 5 out of the first 6 innings, Gerrit Cole absolutely dominated the Dodgers. And in the end, even with the 5th inning, he allowed 4 hits, 1 run, no walks, and 4 strikeouts, and threw, stay with me, folks, 88 pitches, 1 for every key on the piano. Now, I understand we are not in the era of Bob Gibson or Jack Morris or hell, even Josh Beckett or Roy Halladay at this point, or Tim Lincecum or Madison Bumgarner. I get that. But why the hell was Gerrit Cole lifted in the 7th inning? Why? He was pitching wonderfully in the 7th inning. And they brought in Holmes, who was not very good, who with the 1 runner on hit a batter, of which then they had to use Canely. And I listened to the game, walking my dog. I started shaking my head. And my dog, Eleanor, turned to me and said, "Why'd they lift Cole?" That's right. My dog knew that wasn't the right thing to do. And I said that, and my dog said that while it happened, that in the 7th inning, with Cole dealing, they burnt through Holmes and Canely. And Canely was lifted in the 8th. And they had to bring in Weaver to pitch an inning and a third. And when it went into extras, they had already used Holmes, Canely, and Weaver, who were their 3 most effective relievers. So they were in a situation where we're saying Hill, Cousins, Cortez. How do you follow that with a pitch to Cortez? Because you've already used your key relievers. And just bear with me for a second, Cole, who had not yet even hit 90 pitches, and this is, by the way, the World Series, so you're not saving anyone at this point. It's game 1 of the World Series. Your ace is pitching like an ace, and we've been seeing bullpen games going left and right. To burn through Holmes and Canely when you're in the 7th, and after the 8th, you've burnt Canely completely and have to use Weaver for an extensive period of time. You can't do that. You can't pull your ace when he's pitching like an ace in the World Series. And I've said to people, and I've said on this podcast, and I believe I said it when I had Jeff Snyder on, when you're pulling the bullpen games, you're assuming everyone's going to do their role. Well, Holmes didn't do his role. He couldn't finish the 7th. A 7th that didn't need relief. And what would have happened? What would have happened if Cortez had walked Freddie Freeman? What would happen if Cortez walked Freddie Freeman and then got the next out? And the game would have been tied. And the Yankees would have gone further into extra innings without Holmes, Canely, Weaver, Cousins, and Cortez. What would you do later in that game? I don't understand it. It seems like I have a simple baseball philosophy, which is go to relief when your pitcher needs relief. I'm not saying this as someone who is rooting for the Yankees. I'm saying this as a baseball fan. This is, we've seen nothing will ever be more insane than Blake Snell pitching a World Series saving masterpiece and not even allowing him to pitch 6. Cole is the ace. There are very few legit aces left in baseball. And the reason for that has nothing to do with toughness and nothing to do with sabermetrics and nothing to do with analytics. It has to do with money. I've said this before. I'll say it again. I'm going to do a whole piece on it in the offseason. The powers that be in baseball saw the most expensive players in the game are ace pitchers. So they designed a game where ace pitchers are no longer needed, except when they are. And your mentality is, oh, Cole got a leadoff man on. Whatever shall we do? I don't know. Trust him. Trust him to get out of it. Well, if you face a team, the lineup 3 times, yeah, maybe part of the game is having your ace pitchers figure out how to get the lineup out the 3rd or even the 4th time through. Notice I'm not saying he had to throw a complete game, but he wasn't in trouble. He let up a leadoff hit. Who would you rather have in that situation? Cole or Holmes? Cole, I'm going to guess 90% of you in your head said exactly that. This is Rob Vega. Says, I'm a native New Yorker here and a Mets fan, proud of my team, but I know that the World Series was played between the Mets and Dodgers. The road was way more intense through the National League. Wrong episode. That's a bit of sour grapes from Met fans. This is the one I meant to hit. Johnny T says, thank you. Cole is the ace. It's the whole reason he's in there. It's right. He's the ace. Have him pitch like an ace. I'm not saying he has to be Louis Tiant throwing a complete game in a 5-4 win with a winning run on. I'm not saying that. I'm saying he didn't need relief. I'm saying every single Dodger fan in the world exhaled when Cole came out. And maybe this is something that should be taught in the minor leagues. Maybe this is an organizational thing of pitching, the mentality of how to get through that 7th inning. But the Yankees didn't, and it cost them game 1 of the World Series. It cost them because they had the lead, and they didn't have any of their top relievers available because they needlessly burnt through them before they even got to the 8th. Why was Cortez in there? Because you already used the other ones you would want. Why was Cortez pitching in there? Well, because for reasons that poets, philosophers, sociologists, and paleontologists will try to study and never figure out. The Yankees had the only ace left in the World Series who is absolutely strong enough to pitch, if not a complete game, then deep into the ballpark. And they lifted him needlessly. Yamamoto can't. Yamamoto, who's paid like an ace, Yamamoto can't because of his injury. He's not going to go 6 or 7 innings. I had no problem with him listing Flaherty when they did. They squeezed 5 out of him. What he did against the Mets in the NLCS, I think, was a bit of a fluke. This is kind of what you thought you're getting. They pitched into the 6th. And the Dodgers handled their pitching staff a little better than the Yankees because they didn't have the ace. The one thing is I talked with both Jeff Snyder of Locked On Dodgers and Stacey Gotsulias of Locked On Yankees. The one thing that I said gave the Yankees a slight edge over the Los Angeles Dodgers was Gerrit Cole. I said Gerrit Cole is the only real ace pitching. And the Yankees took that advantage, placed it in the toilet, and hit flush. Yep. And Rob Vega, who said a bunch of, nonsense earlier, but he said something good here. Well, won the game was the winning manager managed less than the other. To a degree, I agree. Now, whether it came from the manager or from the front office, I don't know. But this is game one. Game two is in less than 24 hours. And if it's anything like this one, we're going to have a whole lot of fun. Now, tomorrow's game, Carlos Rodon versus Yamamoto. Rodon can pitch very well, or he could get clobbered. And the thing that I said to Stacy the other day was both the Yankees and the Dodgers have the kind of lineup that they can slug through mistakes. Well, Aaron Judge better do better than what he did today because they need that bat too. But the Dodgers slugged through a few mistakes. And give all the credit in the world. Giancarlo Stanton, he showed up. Chisholm Jr., he showed up. Gerrit Cole, he showed up. And, there were those three Yankees showed up and showed their absolute grit. But what is it about Gerrit Cole in the World Series? When he was with the Astros and A.J. Hinch blew it by not putting him in Game 7. And in this one, the Yankees blew it by having him in, but taking him out too soon. Well, here we go. I'm going to recap Game 2. We'll drop on Sunday morning. But thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever it's called now. And I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Reviewing Game 1 of the World Series of 2024. And let me tell you, it was a good one. This has been Locked On MLB. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Let's see how we can follow this up. And you can call me Sully.